Broadcasting live from an Airstream somewhere in Tornado Alley, bringing you the people, places, and stories from the Panhandle to the Red River. This is your Only in Oklahoma show.
And welcome to the show today. It's geek-centric. We're going nerd-heavy. We have Michael Cross from the Okie Geek Podcast on the show to talk about all things geeky. I'm Brett.
And I'm Harley. And I am also a geek.
You are kind of a geek. I have a little bit of geeky, nerdy knowledge about a lot of different things. I can't really claim to be a Jedi. I can't claim to be a Sith. I like things that, I don't know, this kind of stuff just makes me feel good. You and I have wove many a yarn over things that we geek out about.
Absolutely. And as far as the state goes, there's a whole lot of that coming here, which is, I think, great, because we're not, and I think we did touch on it with our conversation with Michael Cross.
Yeah.
But we're not shipping as many tourism dollars across the Red River.
I think you're right. I think the purse strings, people are still doing it, but I'm not saying that they've built a wall. Oh, did I just say that? But what I'm saying is I think that we're generating more buzz, more opportunities to do things. You know, it used to be just kind of, and maybe there's always been small pockets of it, but for me, it's always been the medieval fair or a fair of the heart. No, that doesn't really count. But if you're a craft geek, there's a fair of the heart.
Craft geeks? Is that a thing?
I think it's a thing.
Well, outside of a fair of the heart,
right?
We have a lot of really cool pop culture, and I hate saying that because it
just sounds
wrong.
And nothing against the OKC POP Con.
No. I'm just saying the pop culture, using the phrase pop culture is so broad a brush.
It really is. It really is.
It doesn't do justice to it. But OKC POP Con is one of the things that we just talked about recently. We've got SoonerCon coming up.
Yeah.
Nightfall Horror Con on the books.
Yes, it's coming up in July. Festival of Freaks is right around the corner.
So there's a lot of really interesting, fun activities that are happening in the state that used to be you had to go to Dallas to participate.
There are plenty of opportunities for you to raise whatever freak flag that you claim.
Absolutely. And before we get into the interview with Michael and start really talking geeks.
Yeah, let's talk money.
Can we talk, actually I would prefer to talk about another geek.
Okay.
Matt Pinnell.
Oh, Matt Pinnell. Yes, Lieutenant
Governor Matt Pinnell.
Yeah.
Super excited guy that we've got the new slogan and logo out. And I think it's been catching a lot of heat, dude.
It has. People are very divisive over this logo, over the new motto. What can I say about it?
You know, the thing about it is I see the argument from both sides. Right. And I know that's a very political. Hey, maybe
that's something that's politically aimed. Typically.
Maybe I could run for office. I see both arguments here. I think we should build a wall and not build a wall. I don't know.
We've had worse candidates for office than a podcaster. I can assure you of that. But
I think that there are a lot of issues that people have, and a lot of them are very legitimate. But I think the fact that we're putting that much effort into Oklahoma tourism
and not necessarily is it a rebranding?
I don't know if it's a rebranding or not, but I feel like Oklahoma tourism is a $9.7 billion industry.
I don't know that it's always been $9.7 billion, to be honest.
I can guarantee that it wasn't always $9.7 billion.
I mean, go downtown OKC right now, regardless of how you feel about it, you can see money at work down there.
Absolutely.
With the new convention center, what they've done with the new parks down there, what they're doing in and around the metro, and what communities are doing statewide with not tearing things down and building things new, but kind of repurposing and slapping a new finish on otherwise neglected or what could be abandoned property.
I agree with that. Now, yesterday I took a solo road trip.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I determined during my driving meditation through the back roads of Oklahoma.
Yeah, you took the long way.
I did.
Shawnee.
I did. But one of the things that I determined is that I think no matter what the tourism business turns out to be for the state of Oklahoma, that we have to keep our character as a state. I stopped in Purcell, Oklahoma, and I was just walking around looking at some of the sites, snapping some pictures and that sort of thing.
Right.
One of the business owners from a bakery came out to offer me a cookie because she didn't recognize me.
Diet or not, I'm saying yes.
But more importantly, that's just something that is,
you don't see
I think,
that.
exclusively Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah, there's a reason why we're ranked in one of the nicest places to live and visit in America. And it's small things like that don't happen all the time, but it's when you least expect it, you're like, man, what a great place to be.
Right. Yeah, I mean, she didn't have any alternative motivation at all. She just literally thought, there's a guy I don't know. I'm going to offer him one of our cookies.
Right. It wasn't an MLM scheme or anything like that. Like, she didn't want you to recruit 10 other people to have a cookie.
So at the end of the day, I think as far as the new logo, the new slogan goes, if you don't like it, let's come up with a new one. But for the time being, let's embrace what we have. And
I mean, I think sometimes simplicity is best, no matter what.
I could see what you're getting at, but I think if you go too simple, you end up with Oklahoma is okay again.
Or I
don't think that's okay.
That may be too simple. We've done that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Not a fan.
So some Oklahoma geek facts before we get over to Michael Cross's interview.
Right. If you haven't been living under a rock, then you're aware that there is a show called Watchmen that is a major hit with HBO, based out of Tulsa, kind of centered around the Tulsa race riots of the 20s. It's a fantastic show. And yes, granted, it's not, I don't know, as big and massive as, say, Game of Thrones, but it's so cool to have something that's kind of, even though the backdrop is kind of controversial.
I understand the controversial aspects of the show and the backdrop, but I think it's super important that we recognize our history in stark reality.
Right.
This happened, and the people that perpetrated whatever actions that are deemed horrible, they were assholes, and we're not them, and
right.
We can look at history in an open and honest.
And even though this is kind of based on a graphic novel concept, the heart of the movement and the heart of the show is really about human rights. So there's not a comic feel to it. It's not like we've got superheroes flying around, and I love the show. It's fantastic. It's like I said, it's always cool to hear something that mentions Tulsa or Oklahoma. But then you have situations like Ready Player One where they took OKC out of it and renamed it. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I think it was Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
The Outsider did this. I love the show, but the book, it's based in a place called Flint, Oklahoma. They took it out. I don't know why, but
I'm just really impressed with all of the film industry attention that Oklahoma's been getting.
Oh yeah, it's kind of become a bustling metropolis for Hollywood. I mean, they're doing Leonardo DiCaprio and De Niro and Martin Scorsese are going to be here in Oklahoma filming Killers of the Flower Moon, which is based on a book, and it's being filmed in Osage County. I mean, we've had August Osage County filmed here. A lot of Hollywood is coming here.
Which I think it should.
Yeah.
Especially after the 2018 movie, The Jurassic Games.
Yes, I think it got like an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Jurassic Games is, I think it's, if you bought Jurassic Park and Hunger Games on Wish, I think that's what you get with the Jurassic Games, but it's got quite a cult following.
It does. And speaking of cult followings, we've got an interview coming up with Michael Cross. The audio, can we talk about the audio for just a second?
Well, but to be fair about the audio.
Yes.
What makes your favorite cult movies? The audio quality is kind of scratchy, the film skips, the editing's bad.
So we had some connection issues with Michael Cross.
Yes.
We did our best to re-record as we were going any particular issues, but it still came out a little...
It felt like it was... I don't like the plan from the beginning. Every time he'd be ready to say something profound, it would go.
So we either had a really bad connection,
Yeah.
or Michael Cross is actually like a Jason Bourne character, and he needs to get a new burner phone.
Yes, but we've got Michael Cross with Okie Geek coming up next.
My favorite hoodie is a Friend Falcon hoodie.
You wear it a lot.
I do.
Is there more than one? Because I only see one, and it's either you or Amber that's wearing it.
No,
Or is there
there's not only one.
more? Okay.
So I may be a little biased. The Friend Falcons, I have children that are Friend Falcons.
You have a vested interest.
But it's really hard not to be a fan of your child and the activities that they participate in.
Well, yeah.
One of the issues that I think a lot of parents run into, though,
Yeah.
is it's hard finding fan gear
For your school?
for your kids' activities.
Yes, it is.
I don't wear any youth
Sizes?
clothing at all.
Right.
None of it fits me. And a lot of times the designs are specific to the team and that sort of thing. So it's nice to be able to find a place that will allow you to get fan gear to support your kids and their activities.
Yes.
If you want fan gear to show your support for your favorite pint-sized pitcher, email Jeff at masterthreads.us.
From socks to satchels, it's Master Threads.
masterthreads.us.
Well, part of the job of being a podcaster is also providing the content, not only providing the content that you provide, but you also, it helps to kind of talk about people that are doing your thing. And today we're lucky enough to have Michael Cross from the Okie Geek Podcast. He's also a reporter and a producer with KCSC. He's been on KTOK. I'm sure you've heard of him. Maybe you haven't. And he's currently the morning host on KOSU. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hi there, guys. How you doing today?
We're doing great. I'm wearing shorts, which is probably a bad choice. I am wearing a sweatshirt, though, so that just illustrates if there was a uniform for bipolar, it is shorts and a sweatshirt, I think.
It is. Every time I see someone wearing that, I'm like, are you cold or hot? What are you exactly?
I don't know. I had to air up tires before I came, and I realized what a terrible mistake I made leaving the house this morning, and it's only going to get worse. But thanks for being on, Michael.
Oh, you bet. You bet.
So, Michael, could you tell us a little bit about how you got started in podcasting? I know that it looks like it was a long road for you, but how did you come to be the Geek Master of Oklahoma?
I began with I was moderating a panel for the Society for Professional Journalists and podcasting. I didn't know anything really about podcasting except for the fact that I've listened to a few of them. And it was by the guys from We Apologize for the Inconvenience podcast. And one of the things they said was, if you've got the ability to do a podcast, then just do it. And I thought, I work at a radio station, I work at KOSU Radio, I could just do a podcast about geeky things, about the movies and television and books and games and cosplay and things that were geeky, around the country, around the world. But then eventually I started to realize I wanted to talk about things that were going on in Oklahoma, because right now I think there is a wellspring of a geek culture in Oklahoma that people are enjoying, or whether it's a convention, or whether it's just a celebration of something like Harry Potter, or the next big movie that's going to be coming up, people dressing up like that and doing cosplay. Whatever it is, people are really excited about it. So I wanted to get them in to talk about it. After about 5 years, the co-hosts that I have come and gone because, people have lives.
Right.
And I started, every week I just get somebody in to talk about just the geeky stuff that's going on in Oklahoma.
Well, and there's been really I would say, and maybe this is a conservative estimate, but I think within, we've always kind of had the medieval fairs, which are kind of host their own pockets of specific fans, but there's been kind of this surge within the last decade of more pop culture centric activities taking place, almost bi-weekly. The Pop Culture Con coming up in March, and those guys, if you get a chance to talk to Rod Janlu, he's a great guy, and the horror con that was here last year, it's getting bigger and generating some steam and really starting to put Oklahoma on the map. It's not new to us. We've had the Wizard Worlds. We've even had a couple of the Walker Stalker cons in the past, and those are great events. But it's nice to see things kind of take root, not only from seed to root to complete showcase of what we can do here in Oklahoma. We lose a lot to like Texas Frightmare, horror cons that are in the lower Southwest and even up towards the north. So it's really nice not only to see those things, but to have a podcast like you that kind of shines a little bit more of a light on an otherwise overlooked industry in this area.
Right, and most people don't know that's going on, even if they are fans of it, even if they're fans of the geek culture.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of people say, well, I had no idea that was going on until I heard your podcast, and people who might be into one thing, maybe they're into say Marvel comics, but they don't realize that there's also there's a Star Trek thing going on.
Right.
There's all these things that are out there, and I think that filters down to the fandom is that we're not vitriolic, we don't try to attack other people for what they like. We're all accepting of everybody, and we might not be totally into it, but for example, I'm not totally into the horror genre.
Right.
But I'm having them on my show. I've had them on my show because, this is still something that excites people. Zombies. I'm not that into it, but other people are. I know people who really like Star Wars, but they don't really care for the Renaissance Festival.
Right.
But, but we're accepting of everybody. I think that's more of an Oklahoma thing, it's an Okie thing more than anything else. It's just saying, hey, we're going to accept you whoever you are. You're just part of the fandom that we love.
Well, and we had the OKC Jedi folks on a few months back, and what I like about what they've kind of done is, again, you talk about, there's kind of every genre has an elitist pack of fans that are just rabidly into Star Trek or Star Wars. They've kind of took it a step further and said, hey, if you want to participate, come as a Power Ranger, come as Captain Kirk, you can be a Sith Lord. It doesn't matter. It's inclusive. Now, not every group is like that, but I do like, I like the idea. It's fellowship. Let's be realistic. We live in an era now where, let's think 30 years ago, we never thought we'd have another Star Wars again. And now, whether you like it or not, it's still, it's relevant every year. It's almost like a yearly event. There's something new coming from, there's canon. There's so much more canon every year and Disney Plus is capitalizing on that. So I just think we're in an age of nostalgia, and it's a good time to be in your 40s. That's for sure. For me, anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's very exciting, and it's not just the nostalgia. Right now, I've gotten back in. I played Dungeons and Dragons when I was going to when I was younger, and I loved it. But then I kind of lost track of it. Now I'm playing on Friday nights with my wife and my son because D&D is back. It's amazing, all these fandoms that have come back, and we're enjoying them as adults now.
Well, and it only took one episode of Stranger Things, the first episode of Stranger Things, to reignite. I mean, and it's funny, but it's true, to reignite that love and that fascination with something. If you think about it, at its core, it's relatively basic, but it's so fundamental if you're into that. Like, it's just, there's that Pavlov's dog moment you have when you're like, wow, I remember doing those things. And I think that it really calls to us.
Yeah. And I think that's what also is, my son makes fun of the nostalgia, but part of this nostalgia is being able to teach him about these things. And so whenever I watch an old Star Wars, an old Star Trek, and to be able to sit down with him and watch it as well. Of course, now he's seen all of those. He's 14, so he's seen all of the Star Wars, and Star Trek, and all that kind of stuff. But the first time you got to experience it with as a younger person, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I also have an almost 14-year-old son, and I find it incredibly difficult to get him to sit down and watch a movie with me. So congratulations on that.
We did it actually just the other day. We sat down, and I can't remember what it was. We went to the movie theater, to the video rental place, which amazingly enough, there's still a family video to go rent places. And we just sat down and watched like 4 movies in a row just over the weekend and just had a blast. It's so much fun to be able to share that.
Well, it's funny. Harley's son Connor said the other day, he goes, every time you guys ask me to watch a movie with you, I hate it. Like, God, I wanted to walk out and never come back. Like, are you kidding me? I don't even remember what it was.
We were trying to get him to watch Real Genius.
Oh, Real Genius. We tried to, I think every kid.
I love Real Genius.
I think every kid needs to know that there's a movie called Real Genius or Weird Science. You know what I mean? I mean, I was convinced, the other night I took part in a Q&A with Anthony Michael Hall, and I missed out on asking a bunch of weird science questions. But if it wasn't for movies like that, I thought that you could build a perfect babe. You know what I mean? Kids just don't get it these days, do they?
So, Michael,
and the computers nowadays probably could.
Yeah, they could. You could 3D print the perfect babe, probably.
That's right.
So, Michael, you guys are on episode 200, 199? Somewhere in that ballpark?
This episode 199 today, we just put it up, which was an interview with what they call a maid cafe. It's an anime thing that goes on at the anime shop in Norman. And we're just very close to 200.
The Anime Cafe, is that on Lindsay?
Main and 24th.
Main and 24th, okay.
And I think that's right. Yeah. It's been there for 10 years. And recently, my wife is a 5th grade teacher, and she sees all these kids who are now drawing in this anime style, and they're all excited about it. And I don't think there's really a place for them to go, except for someplace like the One Stop Anime Shop in Norman. And there's a few, but unfortunately, it seems like everything you buy on is online. And so thank goodness we still have these anime shops and gaming shops and the places or in comic book shops you can still go to locally, but they're few and far between, unfortunately.
No, I don't know if it's still there. I lived in Norman for about a decade, but there used to be, in the last few years, there was a gaming shop in the old shopping center by the Hastings that you could go in and do board or tabletop games and things like that, and order a tea or something.
I think that one went away. There was a place called Luton XP.
That's it.
Unfortunately, it only lasted for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it just now went away. Unfortunately, maybe One Stop Shop is on Lindsay.
Okay.
I thought it was on Main. I could be wrong on that. Well, to me, Norman, I don't know Norman nearly as well as I know in like the Edmond area. Or Northwest Oklahoma City.
I think Norman is probably a little bit too big for its britches. There's a lot. I mean, at 11 o'clock at night, it's like driving at 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's easy to get turned around. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Michael, 199 episodes. We've been doing this. We've been doing our show since October. And we're nowhere near 199, but we have a much broader scope. How is it that you find something new every week for 199 weeks in a row in the nerd category of Oklahoma tourism?
I don't know. First off, I think because I love it so much that I tend to surround myself with it. And so when I look in the events section of Facebook, things just pop up. Also, I have people call me. I've got other people calling me up and emailing me and saying, "Hey, we've got this thing coming up." And so also when I go to those things, when I talk to them, they're like, "Oh, well, then you should talk to this because there's another thing coming up in the next couple of weeks." We've got one thing in March, 2 of them at the end of February, including the Oklahoma City Pop Culture Convention.
Yeah, I think Pop Culture isn't it the 21st or the 22nd, something like that?
The 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah. That weekend of the 21st, 22nd, that weekend. And then there's also, there's 2 other things, and for some reason they're not coming to me right now, but there's 2 other things going on just that weekend of March 21st.
Wow.
And it's just because that's actually down because back in about 3 years ago, my son and I, every weekend, the summer of, I guess, not even 2017, that every weekend there was another convention of some kind. Now, they only lasted that 1 year, but and there was one year where it was every weekend there was something new going on, and we were going to everything. And so eventually it's like, wow, I need to rest. Those things can be very tiring.
Well, there's a lot of conventions that come through and you're like, they only last a day, and they, like you said, they only last a season, or they only last a year. What I do like to see, again, I kind of brushed over a little bit earlier on in the conversation, but a lot of these conventions that are they're adding a day, and they're adding more exhibits, and they're, Pop Culture Con's moving to Midwest City, and so is the Nightfall Convention in July is moving to Midwest City and adding more guests, and just, again, making Oklahoma more of a destination and not like a mass exodus, because there's so many things that, again, if it doesn't have Wizard World attached to it, or if it doesn't have Walker Stalker or something, it's not on everyone's calendar. And I like that these conventions are bringing people in and bringing not, people that are fans of everything. It's like the Pop Culture Convention. They're going to have everything from the Fresh Prince cast to Harry Potter. I just think it's great. It's so good.
Yeah, I know we got SoonerCon.
Yeah.
SoonerCon's been around it's going to be celebrating its 29th year this year. So 30 years in 2021. And it's moved to its new space at the Embassy Suites. And they had their first time last year in Norman. And it looks like they're going to have to move again because, they won't. But it still was so full.
Yeah.
And that was in a brand new space. It's just amazing how many people are excited about fandom, about geekiness, because I think it's a little bit of an escape, but it's also just a really great excuse to go hang.
Right. With people that hang out with people with like-minded opinions, and you've got people that are outwardly geeky, and then you've got the closeted geeks that may only like Stranger Things, but it gives everybody an opportunity to kind of do something in a fun, safe atmosphere and freaking geek out and the other thing too is it's as much as I would love to go to San Diego Comic-Con, but for you get more bang. I think you get as much bang for your buck sometimes. $8 and I can do all these things. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I think I've heard from people who go to San Diego Comic-Con, and although you could go sit in Hall H and get the brand new, see the newest trailer that's going to be on the internet in 5 minutes, or you can come to Oklahoma City and not have to feel like you're crowded, not have to feel like you're walking around being moved around like cattle.
Right.
You can enjoy yourself and get some great vendors and get some, as far as cosplay, as far as music, and not spend an arm and a leg.
Yeah, absolutely. And connect with local, there's always tons of local artists that are trying to make a name for themselves or have an established name for themselves. Yeah, it's a great culture to be a part of, whether you're an extremist, an extreme geek, or just a casual. But yeah, again, more to the point, what you're doing is you're kind of preaching from the pulpit.
Well, one of the things that I really like, Michael, the big Comic-Cons, the big festivals, SoonerCon, those types of things are great. But I really like the fact that you go out and find these smaller, more specific, drilled down activities and events, because I feel like a lot of the culture gets watered down in some of those bigger events. Does that make sense?
They do. Oh yes, and I think because of the fact, one of the things I think is that they try to cater to everybody because they have to. It's kind of like broadcasting. We have to make sure that it's to everybody. But when you have these smaller events, they don't have to worry about what they can be as niche as they want to be, because they're really trying to only make those few people happy that are in their little event thing going on, which is wonderful because it allows them to be as free as they want to be and to entertain as much as they want to. Now, granted, once we get bigger, once we get to like the Sooner Cons or whatever, those are they have to be more inclusive. But I love these events, the Star Trek events, the Star Wars, the OKC Jedi events that are just about, hey, this is the fandom that we dig, and that's what we're going to do right now, and that's what we're going to enjoy. And it's so wonderful to see that because there's so much passion there.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, one of the things when I decided that I was going to go into the geeky, not just about pop culture, but also about STEM, I had just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the OKC STEM Expo, so science, technology, engineering, math, because I think if you're a geek, you totally dig science, you totally dig, mathematics.
Well, some of you guys do. Some of you guys do.
I'm not good at math, but I totally appreciate the person who is.
I mean, I know 12 parsecs in the Kessel Run. That's about it in terms of math. So, Michael, are you going to be out and about, glad handing anywhere? Where can people meet you in person? Where can people get in touch with you online? What's the best way to do those things?
Yeah, the best way to get in touch with me is through Twitter. I love Twitter. You can find me personally at you can get a hold of the podcast.
Sorry,
Michael, literally, you said you can get a hold of me, and then it went, that was it.
I don't understand it. We can get a hold of you at what, Michael? Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. You can get a hold of me at KOSU Michael C. You can also get a hold of the podcast at Okie Geek Podcast. And we've also got a Gmail, okiegeekpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook.
I would love to, in a previous life, I could have blamed the board op or the phone screener for all these problems, but this rests solely on us. All right, Michael. So, I mean, again, love what you're doing. I know it sounds like we're trying to rub your shoulders here, but you have a great thing going. Love your podcast, and I like that you're a radio guy, personally. Yeah.
There are many of us.
Yes, there are, but it helps to keep your day job because, as you know, podcasting doesn't pay the bills.
At the end of
Michael, we really want to thank you for coming on the show. It was a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You bet. You guys, thank you so much, and I'll hit you back and let you know when we can get you guys on my podcast as well.
All right, so audio.
Definitely not. I don't know. I don't think we're going to win any golden cassettes. We won't be getting the podcast award for cleanest audio on this particular episode, but I think the message is clear. There's a lot of things to do to get your XP up, to regenerate your health. And I always say roll a 32 side die. Is there a such thing? I don't know. Clearly, I don't play board games.
Dude, you kill me with that garbage. I think more importantly, I think it's blatantly obvious that the fandomonium? Yeah, the I like the word, right. Fandomonium, is really pervasive in Oklahoma, and we're starting to see a lot of homegrown activities that are awesome, and if you've got
and we're not just boots and straps and cowboy hats, or spurs with a lot of gold.
No, I agree with that 100%.
That's a line from a song, by the way.
Yes, I understand.
Go ahead.
I'm also
I'm also from here.
Yes. But I feel like if you've got an activity that if you're a fan of something, then there is ample opportunity for you to meet with other people of like minds and do things without getting in your car and driving 4 hours.
Right. Literally, there's a group for everyone. I mean, hell, like we said during the interview, and like we said when we were interviewing them, Jedi OKC, it's not just about Jedis. Harry Potter can show up. You know what I mean? So I think for the most part, the community, I think the pop culture, I keep saying nerd community because I don't know if that's the right thing. I just think it's a cool community to hang out with people and be with like-minded people and do it on Facebook if you don't like to leave the house.
Well, another fandom-related item that we need to discuss before we wrap up the show. OKC POP Con.
Yes, we've got that coming up, and we're going to be giving away some tickets.
Yes, we are. So this is going to be a Facebook giveaway.
Yes.
Basically, you're going to need to share, comment, and react in some form or fashion to a post about OKC POP Con on our Facebook page, which is OnlyinOKShow on Facebook.
And we are going to be giving away 3 pairs of tickets. Okay. This ain't your grandma's giveaway. We're going to be giving away a pair of Saturday tickets, Sunday tickets, and the grand prize, weekend passes.
Absolutely. So the first giveaway is going to be for a Saturday event.
Yes.
The Saturday event. And you'll just need to go over to our Facebook page, find the post, which will be tagged.
The page.
You'll need to go over to our Facebook page and find the post, which will be pinned to the top.
Right. Just follow it. Follow the instructions. I'm sure you've done it before. It's going to be easy peasy. We want you to win, but we also want you to tell everybody about us too. I'm just saying, that's the best way to cast a net, folks.
With bait?
With bait.
Well, this has been the Only in OK show. I am Harley.
I'm Brett.
And we're out of here.
Peace.
Controversial acts. Why? Controversial acts. What is the word?
Axis of evil.
Oh, my God.
Aspect. You want to bring it in?
No.
Okay.
It's not my job.
Not your job.
It's not.
When's the last time you said that when you worked in fast food? It's not my job. It is your job. Unclog the shitter. Fine.
Oh, I'll do it, but I don't have to like it.
For $4.25 an hour. $4.25 an hour was a lot of money, wasn't it? I mean, we've come so far since then, but it feels like $4.25 was a lot of money back then. It was probably equates to $100 every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Why am I so much hotter than you?
I don't know. Age.
Yeah. Well,
genetics.
I did age well.
I mean,
not.
You're Italian. What else?
Scrub brush.
Are you more than you're Italian? You're not just Italian, right? I mean, you're obviously a little bit white. But if I looked at you, I wouldn't know. I've always said that about you. I didn't know that.
No, I'm all over the place.
I figured you weren't from around these parts.
Scotland, France, Italy.
Famous Scottish quote.
There can be only one. I don't know.
If it's not Scottish, it's trash.
Yes.
Known
as the Pentaveret.
Pentaveret.
Heed, pants, no. It's great.
Look at the size of his noggin.
I love that movie.
Nobody talks about it but us.
Dude, I tell you what, I'm really becoming saddened with how often I drop the perfect movie quote in the conversation at the perfect time, and people just blank expressions on their face.
The problem with that is, you and I have talked about it before, you work with people that are fresh, wet behind the ear. I mean, you work with people that are 10, 15
so
years
there's
younger.
A guy that works with me that was born, no shit, in the year 2000.
Are you serious? God, how do you... So he's 20?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, my son will be 21 next month. He was born in 99.
That's
when you
how
think of it that
works.
way. But when it's your kid, you don't look at it like, wow. But when you work with some, especially when they're your boss and they're old enough to be like the bubble gum on the bottom of your
But the thing about it, it doesn't matter. And he's not my boss, but it doesn't matter. He was born in the year 2000.
Isn't that so
like, dude, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. Yeah.
Do you, okay, what's his name? Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
In the year 2000. Right.
Yeah.
That happened before the year 2000.
Wow. When I think about that, I'm like, geez, you can't even, as funny as it is today, you can't do that now. Man, 2020. This is crazy, man.
Okay. Let's kick this
All
pig,
right.
dude.